You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello and welcome to episode 283 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Sean, and this week we are going to talk about collecting, whether that's action figures or Hot Wheels or whatever it may be. We're going to talk about loose versus MIB or mint in box collecting. Huge shout out to a good friend of the show, avid listener Renee, for suggesting the topic, and here we go. But before we begin there, let's catch up on the Hot Wheel hobby that I started back maybe 4 or 5, 6 weeks ago. I don't know. Sometime in February, we'll say. It's a bit of an obsession-based hobby, as I've been learning. Watching a lot of YouTube videos about people collecting, what they're collecting, a lot of unboxing videos. I don't know where these people get fresh cases from, but these people have been in the hobby for a long time, and I'm slowly learning the difference between main lines and treasure hunts and super treasure hunts and chases and this, that, and the other thing. There's a lot to know, and as you may know, I've been collecting Star Trek action figures since the 90s. I've been a collector all my life of various things, and there's lots of stuff I know. There's also lots of stuff I don't know. The one thing I've learned is that I don't need to collect every single Hot Wheel out there because there's a lot. There's what they call fantasy casts, which are not real cars, and apparently the people in the hobby really don't like them all that much. And I'm not going to collect based on what people in the hobby, the old timers, like. I just collect what I like. So looking around at the stuff that I have, I've always collected Volkswagen Beetles. I've always collected El Caminos, and apparently I've also always collected Batmobiles. Those are the main things that I've had when I wasn't a major collector, when I just happened to see them in the toy store. But now I'm getting more intentional with what's out there, and I've been collecting muscle cars mostly, and just other things that look interesting, I guess you could say. No fantasy casts really, because they don't look good to me. Like there's one right now called the Desert Drifter. It's like a cupcake on wheels. Why would I want that? I don't want that. That looks dumb. But somebody might love it. And dumb is just my opinion. You might think it's an absolute fantastic casting. I don't, and that's okay. That's what makes every hobby great. There's some things you like and some things that you don't like. And there's nothing wrong with either way you collect or what you want. So that's just the way it is. I have made a couple videos, maybe 3 or 4 YouTube videos. You can look that up under my name, Sean Vanderloo, or Rusted Robot Toys. And just some treasure hunting videos or hauls, I guess. This is what I hauled in from my hunting. So yeah, I think there's 4 of those videos. They're short, just 5 minutes or under. Basically, this is what I got this week when I went to the store. And that seems to be the main thing that people make videos about. So I tried it. I got a couple hundred views on some of them, but nothing major. And that's okay. I also did an unboxing video of a NECA action figure, Thalog, from Gargoyles. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the show as well. So yeah, I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, get some more viewers on there, and maybe some dialogue going or whatever. That's just what I've been really focusing on in the hobby / collecting world lately, in addition to posting all kinds of things for sale on the Etsy shop. Of course, that's Rusted Robot Toys on Etsy. Go check that out if you haven't. I'm always putting new things up there. Lots of pop vinyls, but other action figures and random things as well. Let's talk about mint versus loose collecting. And there's a bunch of different terminology involved in that. So if it's mint, it could be MOC, which means mint on card. It could be MIB, mint in box, or MIP, mint in package. There's a bunch of various terms. And then, of course, if you open up your package and throw it away, then it's just considered a loose collectible. So I found some resources here online. You can further break it down based on... Oh, crap, my dad's calling. So we got various listings here. You got carded, which just means the figure is still on the original backing card. Boxed, the figure is still in the original box. Then you've got loose, which just means it's no longer in the original box or card. Complete, which means it's loose, but the figure has all of its original accessories. Punched means it's still in the package and the hole used to hang the card on a peg in the store has been knocked out. And unpunched means the hole used to hang the card on the peg in stores hasn't been punched out or knocked out. And that is the most desirable kind of mint on card type, I guess you could call it. An unpunched card is worth more than a punched card in the exact same condition. Why is that the case? I'm not really sure, but that's just the way it is. So let's break this down a little bit further. Actually, before we do that, why don't we play a promo for another podcast right here on the ESO network?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to Podcasting has this to say about the weekly Earth Station 1 podcast. Mildly entertaining, not nearly as exciting as the popping of bubble wrap, but slightly better than listening to Vogon poetry. Be mildly entertained by Mike and Mike as they tackle an assortment of geeky topics each week. Check out the Earth Station 1 podcast and let your inner geek out to play.
And we're back. So just a little bit of behind the scenes kind of information. This part here that I'm recording after the promo is actually a different day because while I was recording the first part of the episode, my dad called me and he needed some help with a few things, so I went and did that. So now it's the next day, and hopefully I can get back into the flow of what I was talking about yesterday. So if I recall properly, we were talking about loose versus mint collecting, and I think we were going to start talking about reasons for collecting in the various ways. And now, from my own personal experience, when I first started collecting, it was intentionally collecting, I guess you could say. Not just having toys and just keeping them. Actually collecting and going to the store on purpose to buy a specific series. And I'm going to say that was probably Playmates Star Trek The Next Generation action figures in 1992 or 93. And when I first started buying those, I would take them out of the package and play with them, I guess. Not really play, because what was I in that? I was 17, probably around that age. So really just putting the weapons in their hands, displaying them on the display stand, and just putting them on a shelf and looking at them, and just that kind of stuff. I did that for quite a while. Bought a lot of them and took them out of the package. And at the same time, my good buddy Andrew was also collecting, and he was the one that actually really got me into collecting because he had a lot of cool toys from the 80s, such as G.I. Joe and Thundercats and all that stuff. So he started collecting as well. And then the original series box set of 7 Star Trek figures came out in, I think... I don't know, 93 or 94. And of course I bought it and I opened them all up. And then he bought it and he didn't open his up. And I was like, oh, it looks better when it's not opened up. So then that gave me a dilemma. Do I buy them and open them? Do I buy them and keep them in the box? What do I do? I found a website here and it talks about mint in box versus loose collecting. And I'm just going to read to you what it says. There can be many reasons for why someone will keep their action figures mint in the box or mint on card. Some people just like the way the packages look. Many action figures made today are highly detailed, but are also in detailed packages. Others like to keep them in the box because action figures are worth way more when they're in the original packages. The better the condition of the packages, the better the price will be if you ever decide to resell your action figures, or whatever kind of toy it is, I guess. It also says mint and box toys take up way more space in your house if you decide to store them that way. Especially mint and box vehicles will take up a lot more because those boxes are way bigger than action figure cases or boxes. One benefit is that they stack easily, but you must be careful not to dent the packages because if you do, then they lose value. That's one way to do it. Loose figures, here it says, they allow you to take them out of the package and play with them. You can put your figures in different poses and post them online to blogs and forums. And of course, lots of people take action figure photos. They take up way less space for storage, but they also lose their value very fast. And another thing actually is when they're out of the package, that's a lot of dusting, because of the joints and the cracks and the crevices in the action figures or the vehicles or whatever. The dust gets everywhere. Now, of course, your action figure packages, if you keep them that way, also get dusty, but those are easier to clean because usually it's just a few flat surfaces of plastic. Anyway, what have I done since then? And that's a good question. Both, actually. Sometimes what I'll, and actually people ask me that before too, how do you decide whether to take them out of the package or not? And if you look around my collectible room here, I've got a lot of things out of the package, but also a lot of things in the package. Sometimes you buy two, one to take out and one to keep mint. For example, when I started buying pop vinyl action figures, I went and I saw, oh look, it's Lion-O and Mumra from the Thundercats. So I took them out of the package and threw away the box. And wouldn't you know it, had I kept them in the box, they'd both be worth about $200 each right now. I don't know what they are worth loose, but not nearly as much. Another thing is I've started collecting gargoyles from NECA. So I've got Goliath and Thalog with a Steel Clan on the way from the pre-order. And I've been thinking about what to do with these for a while. So the other day I took Thalog out of the package and I put him on my shelf. And I'm like, you know what? That looks pretty cool. I think I'm going to leave Goliath and the Steel Clan figure in their boxes. They're cardboard boxes with a bit of Velcro so that you open up the little door and you can see the figure in their plastic. So I have one out and I'll have two in the box. And I think I'll keep it that way. Maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I bought two Star Trek The Next Generation action figures from the movie First Contact, the android Data. He had half of his face ripped off, and it was all the electronics underneath. And I was like, it's limited to 1,701 pieces. I'll buy two, one to take out of the package and one to keep in the package. And wouldn't you know it, once I got them, I kept both of them in the package because they look pretty cool and I didn't want to lose the pieces and they're just worth more in the package. So there you go. So that's what the dilemma is. With Hot Wheels, they're a lot cheaper. They're just a couple bucks or less and they're everywhere. So what I've decided to do with those is take some out and keep some in the package. I just actually went to the dollar store today and picked up a Volkswagen Cool Combi. I already had one, but the package wasn't great, so I took that one out of the package, and the new package was in decent shape, so I stuck that on the wall with my Volkswagen collection, and that's basically the difference between loose and mint. Loose, it's more fun, you can play with it, you can take pictures, they're easier to store, although it's easier to lose the accessories. If you keep them in the box, it takes up more room, it's easier to dust, they're worth more if you decide to sell. So buy two, one to play with and one to keep mint, or do whatever you want. It's basically an art form. Why do I decide to take some out and keep some in? No idea. It's just a feeling. So that's all it is. That, as far as I'm concerned, you might have different ideas. Other people might have different ideas. Some people might not even care. I know lots of people don't even collect stuff. And if that's the case, good for you. I wish I had never started sometimes as well, because I have moved a ton of times, and packing it up and putting it away and dusting it and taking care of it, that, my friends, is a lot of work. But anyway, that is this week's topic. Next week, if all goes well, I'm going to have a titillating kind of episode for you, so stay tuned for that. I'd like to thank Renee for suggesting this topic. Hopefully the flow was decent after the interruption yesterday and the two partial recordings. Who knows? Let me know what you think. soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. Remember to check me out on the YouTube. Check out Rusted Robot Toys on the Etsy shop. And other than that, I hope you take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, why don't you please remember that the collector is an artist in his own way. By the way he puts things together, you can read a person's soul from their collection. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Soul Forge Podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we hope you'll tune in again next time. Remember that you can visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links, and don't forget to share the show with everyone you know. The Soul Forge Podcast is your best source for living your best life.
Think about it.
Power-Up Godzilla! The new Power-Up Godzilla. You snap on invincible Ultra Armor and launch massive Mega Missiles to fight Power-Up Mecha Godzilla, Power-Up Mecha Ghidra, and Power-Up Rodan. When Godzilla powers up, it's an all-out power struggle. All-out Godzilla war. Power-Up Godzilla from Trendmaster. Action figures sold separately.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.